Look, I mean, I think Eurobond holders again showed a willingness to support Ukraine. Remember, in August 22, 6 months after the invasion, they agreed a 2-year debt service suspension, right? So I think over 90% of bondholders agreed to the deal. Ultimately shows support for Ukraine. That's positive, right? It shows a willingness to play ball. Obviously, Ukraine needs some space, and they gave Ukraine that space. So it's a positive overall result. Bonds have traded very well since. That reflects optimism, I guess, around a peace process. Not sure that is necessarily the right call, but anyway, people are very optimistic about Ukraine. Ukraine was one of the best performing Eurobonds last year. For Eurobond investors, obviously, markets need to open up. The sovereign and I guess the Ministry of Finance and the IMF decided to do an early restructuring. I think because they wanted early market access for Ukraine, because they assumed the reconstruction needs are enormous and the private sector is going to have to do a lot of the heavy lifting. I think it's still some time until markets reopen. Key will be what the peace is, whether Ukraine is deemed to be secure, security framework around that. Obviously, Trump is suggesting an early deal, but again, the security context is really, really important. Ukraine has a future, really good future, over the territory that remains in control of Kiev, but as long as investors have security, right? I have major concerns about whether Trump really understands the Ukraine story, the threat from Russia, the importance of Ukraine to European security. And we'll see what that deal is and whether it does in fact provide security for Ukraine. And then, if it does, then Ukraine will have market access and people will put money to work in Ukraine. I've been attending this conference on and off for over 20 years. I'm amazed this year, the interest. As we were talking before, the number of people is kind of seems extraordinary, doubled. It does seem to be, I've always thought that this conference is, if you want to see markets and issuance and debt capital markets, it's, one-stop shop. You go here once a year. It's a bit like a European IMF, but it's a lot easier to meet and access people. It's very easy to organise meetings with government officials, bankers, all this kind of thing. Everyone comes together at one place, very easy, one hotel. Not like the DC IMF meetings where you have to run around different hotels. So, yeah, it's really good, well organised, interesting content, good people, and as I said, huge attendance this year.